to you and your loved ones. And thank you so much for choosing Family Media this beautiful Monday evening. My name is Sarah Otieno, and we are live on This Is The Day, live on Family TV and also live on Family Radio, where the music does the talking. Well, you can contact us through the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316 and also through the SMS line 20316. And today I want us to talk about an issue that affects you and me directly. So here is a case study of myself. I went to the hospital last weekend, and the person I found at the reception actually made me feel like nimepona. I did not want to be served again. Reason being, she was number one rude. Remember, this is a hospital. I stayed there in the waiting bay for about 2 hours. No one asked me my name. No one asked me whether I was okay or not. No one even wanted to know whether my blood pressure was high or low. No one. And that happens in most of the cases, and sorry to say this, but most of the public hospitals, this is what happens. And I know at some point maybe it has happened to you or the person that you care about, maybe the person next to you, your sister, your brother. And it does not only happen in hospitals. You might go to a public office somewhere, and the service you get, even the reception itself, is wanting. But in the opposite direction, you might go to a place and you love it. The company culture of that place might just be awesome. You are treated like a VIP. And you feel like you just want to go over and over again and ukae tu hapo. Well, that is what someone might call professionalism. So, it could go either way. And today I want us to talk about utmost professionalism, cutting across different kind of careers. And first, before I introduce my guest, I want us to look at some of the definition of and statistics kidogo of utmost professionalism and what just maybe the cause that you are losing a job because you do not know how to behave in your workplace might be. So let us look at this.
What is professionalism? Being professional might mean a variety of things, from how you dress to work to how you perform your chores. Mastering professionalism at work is vital for success and happiness on the job. Contrary to what most believe, true professionalism in the workplace is not restricted to any industry. Whether you are a waitress, a kiosk owner, working a part-time job, or a lawyer, or making millions of Kenyan shillings, you need to practice professional behavior and be hardworking. There are certain standards of professional conduct, and not meeting them could make you break your future at a company. Did you know that employees who do not clean up after themselves can hurt the chances for a promotion in the eyes of 36% of employers? Vulgar language is an indication that the employee is not yet ready for promotion, and more than half of the employers, making up to 53%, expect employees to be on time every day, and 4 in 10, making up to 41%, have fired someone for being late. Well then, can people really reach their utmost professionalism since employees and business associates are mostly attracted to professionals?
Well, there you have it. I didn't know that someone could actually be fired for being late until I was reading that statistic, and anyway, I understood why. I lost a friend, not dead, but she just cut network connections because she lost her job because she was fired for being late. Now I understand why. Well, in studio I have the founder of Eve Minute Communication Solutions Limited, yes, and also a family IT consultant. By the nilembo nisiposema hii sitakunywa maji. Her name is Evelyn Kasina. How are you doing, my dear?
Yeah, how are you?
Fine.
I don't think it's late to say Happy New Year, but hey, I've not seen you the whole of this year.
Oh, yeah, sure. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
To belated. It's not late yet.
No, it's not. No.
So, my dear, in your definition, what is utmost professionalism?
I think standards and ethics that you use and characterize yourself being in a certain profession. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is clear.
Like you've given an example of how you are treated in a hospital.
Yeah.
In some professions, there are standards that are actually set that you should not go below certain ways of treating people.
Yeah.
And some, like you see, some of our fields are new, so we have to kind of come up with our own standards and ways to relate with people. So I think it is just ethics and standards of how you relate with people.
Okay, I like that. But just like I used in that example, you know, sometimes you might go to an organization, maybe a company, and then you're treated in a manner that you personally feel, and yet this person is not professional.
Yeah.
So maybe this person is doing it knowingly or unknowingly.
Yeah.
So what are some of these things that people do that they actually paint a picture of unprofessionalism to them?
I think first and foremost, it might be unknowingly because a culture in the organization just makes you shift.
Yeah.
You might come into an organization, step in, and you're oriented to where you came from. There's a certain way you treat people. But when you get into another organization, you realize, hey, people here are just mellow. People are so chilled. And that environment actually makes you change the way you relate with people.
Yeah.
So there's that option. But then also, there are people who just literally do not know how to relate, because the same way they relate to their peers outside is the same way they feel like they should relate with clients and people in the office, which for me, I think there's a thin line.
Yeah.
And I feel like organizations need to take an extra step to train people on culture and communication and EQ. Just talking about how I would want you to relate with people and how I want you to conduct yourself while in the office space.
Yeah.
Because you might not really be rude to me up front, but I'm talking to you and you're on your phone. I mean, you're talking, and let me just demonstrate. You're talking to me and I'm like this.
Yeah.
That is unprofessional. Another instance would be I'm talking to you and you're chewing. You have gum in your mouth. You're chewing. So I'm trying to say something, you're trying to say something, and you're chewing at the same time. So those are just subtle indications that something needs to be done in terms of professionalism, just upping the game a bit. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And does it only count for those who are professionals? Or it can even trickle down to individuals in general, how we behave with each other, you know? You've given a good example of chewing, and you're talking to me, I'm chewing. So someone might say, me, I'm not employed. This one does not apply to me.
No, it applies to everybody. I think that is just common decency. Yeah. Respect is common decency. And I think even if it's not physical, how we relate with each other online, because it really matters. And right now, very many people are losing their jobs because they may look like they're decent face-to-face, but they have so much vulgarity and indecency online, which doesn't make sense, because you have to be who you are offline, and when you have to mirror the same person online.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter whether you're doing things physically. It's also the same way you relate with other people online. Yeah.
And the choice of words really matters there.
Oh yeah, choice of words, how we compose sentences, for instance. I mean, there are people who will just use abbreviations and then you've got no clue what that is. And they're expecting you to be of the age where you understand what that kind of lingo is. Also just being rude online. I mean, it's the same thing, really. And right now, people need to actually look at both aspects. How you relate with people physically and how you relate with other people online. Yeah.
I like a comment that has just come in, and thank you so much for this. Remember, you can text us through the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316, and also through the SMS line 20316. And this is the first one to come in. Did I just hear you say that 4 in 10 people fire because of being late? That is from the statistics that you gave. So 4 in every 10 employees actually fire people. And this has been proven, by the way, because they're late. And most people take this for granted, you know?
Wow. I think for me that will be lack of communication, because being late is not necessarily a crime. It's if you decide that is going to first to be habitual, and you're not communicating with your supervisor or your immediate boss that you're going to run late for one reason or another. So I think for me here, it is the courtesy. It is the lack of courtesy that really matters, that you're not paying attention or you're not caring about the fact that you should be observing time. For me, that really goes down to how are you managing yourself? How are you managing your crisis? You know, because for me, a general rule is being early is being on time. Being on time is being late. And being late is unacceptable.
Wow. I think we should repeat that. Nirudilia tu kidogo so that I get it, you know?
Okay. Being early is on time.
Yeah.
Being on time is late.
Okay.
Being late is unacceptable.
All right. Umesikia?
So I think as a general practice, because people can get late for a number of reasons. You might be in a matatu, you get into an accident, or you're caught by the cops. But I think as a basic rule, just have the decency to communicate and let it not be habitual that, you know what, today you're late by 10 minutes, then nobody asked you, tomorrow you extend it to 15, you know, the way people are.
Yeah.
That I think applies also to the way now you're conducting yourself as a professional. Because I think people must be able to have proper communication skills, number one, and to have that decency that I am working towards something.
Yeah.
And I respect my job, I love my job, and this is why I need to be able to conduct myself in a certain way. Yeah.
I like that. But what really causes people to be, and I'll use the word bitter. Sometimes they're just bitter. They have mood swings. What causes them to be that way? And of course, it affects their delivery of services.
We are human beings.
Yeah.
We are human beings, and right now, if you look at the way our economy is, our social structure, I mean, things are just happening all over the place. I think even just if you currently look at the trends on KOT just alone,
Yeah.
you'll get frustrated and you're not even part of a conversation, just following up comments. You realize people are really frustrated, and they're looking for outlets. They're just looking for means and ways to just, you know,
Put it out.
and I keep actually even telling people in my office, please do not engage social media as the first thing in the morning, because you keep carrying that baggage with you.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I learned somewhere that you open your boot, for instance, and you just put everybody's demons. By the end of the day, you're just feeling so heavy because of very many people's issues. I think we just need to be able to sieve positivity and negativity and learn how to be able to manage situations as they come. But we are human beings, and different situations bring out different reactions. So I think being moody, I mean, you and I know there are certain times of the month where you just don't want to talk to people, and it's normal. And people might not really get to understand, but they get to empathize and you know, just deal with you the way you are. But I think also, if you're going through something, just communicate to the people around you and tell them, you know what, I just need to be chilled out today. Let's not, you know, just explain your situation, and people should be able to understand.
All right.
Yeah, communication.
You know, by the way, you said that, and you talked about the economy, and someone made a joke today on social media, kisema, never give up. Unajua, a tomato right now is the price of an apple. So our
One tomato, one apple.
Basically, in some parts of the country, I hear tomato tatu, they're buying it at 50 shillings.
What?
Yes.
Okay, I
So
think I
someone
need to
will
go back
say-
to the groceries and check mine anyway.
Yeah, so the economy can actually be a reason as to
Yeah.
why someone can just want to be that bitter even
Yeah.
at the places of work. All right, but then where do you draw a thin line? Because there is a thin line between now being in the office and your issues, relationship issues. Unajua mtoto ameamka asubuhi amemwaga uji and you're just very frustrated. Maybe you had a very rough night with your husband. Now, how are you supposed to draw the line between these issues and now being able to work and deliver your services vizuri?
I think you and I, being people who did it for 4, we might
Yeah.
have missed the memo by a mile, and I think a mile. The one thing that I know we need to learn as adults, which I think is very hard, is problem solving and critical thinking, and be able to immerse emotional intelligence in any situation. And this is what I mean. You might have had a very rough night, but you have a meeting and you have to deliver.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a human being, decide, I'm going to block this, maybe deal with it at a later time, or engage it now and decide, let me have this conversation now, let me do my breathing, let me do my meditation, get it over and done with. So when I'm going to this activity, I'm able to deliver.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of critical thinking and being able to think very swift on your feet. Alternatively, give that excuse that I'm not able to deliver this if that emotion is very heavy for you, as opposed to just going there mixed reactions and you don't know, am I going to deal with this now? There are all these voices in my head that are telling me to do this, because it actually even messes up your attitude, it messes up your thinking. You are not able to comprehend yourself very well. So if you feel like a situation is very heavy for you, it's easier for you to even tell someone in the office to go sit in a meeting for you, for example.
Yeah.
Or decide to go to the toilet, scream, engage, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, you know.
Scream. You'll be fired, by the way.
In the
some
toilet.
companies.
No. You do it in the toilet. I mean, please. Or just walk. I mean, there's something that you have to be able to do to just calm your
Ease in
emotions.
your emotions,
Yeah. So that when you feel like, okay, that particular emotion is out of my system, then I can go and engage. If you feel like you're ready. And I think that is something most of us as adults, well, I'm saying you and I because we did it for 4, we didn't get to learn until later on now in life. But I appreciate that CBC at the moment is something that they're inculcating into the curriculum, which is really, really good. Because our children now are getting to learn how to think critically. They are learning how to solve their problems. And that will help them even in their comprehension. That will help them in understanding different situations in life. And even as they get into places where professionalism is not really defined, because you see, for them, I mean, we have a lot of artists, we have a lot of creatives. It's not like the doctor, the architect, who already their professions dictate a certain way. Their ethics already made for them. Like, the way a lawyer has to behave like a lawyer. You have to dress like, everybody says dress like a lawyer, and you're like, why am I dressing like a lawyer?
I'm not a
I'm
lawyer.
a creative. I need to sit on a beanbag. But even that person who is designing websites sitting on a beanbag, they have to have a way of conducting themselves. So I think critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence, those 3 things, we have to really be up to our game with it.
All right, I like that. And I know there's some business people listening. So does this also apply to business people? Because they're not in an office where we're saying they're not lawyers, they're not advocates, they're not accountants. They're just seated somewhere in a kibanda maybe, and they want to sell their grocery. So does this also apply to them?
So let me just throw a question to you.
Yes.
And you've gone to an open marketplace, and there's this person who receives you with a smile, and they want to know how your day was, and this other person is like, nyanya tatu 50 bob, nyanya tatu 50 bob. Who will you go to?
The smiling one.
Thank you, because they already welcomed you with some warmness. They're feeling like they want you to be there to experience what they're selling. So businessman, people who are in the office, it cuts across. Because, and especially for business people, it has to be actually double the effort, because you need to close deals.
And the competition is really steep.
Yes. And at this point, making sure that this client, at first instant, they see you, they like you, you're not bombarding them with too much words. You're not also being very economical with your words. You're being direct, you're being precise, and you're also listening to them so that you get to understand. Because I think also one other thing that professionals need to do a lot is listen. Listen. Understand
like
first, then seek to be understood. There's 7 habits of those are 7 habits of effective people. You have to listen,
first,
understand, seek to understand, then to be understood.
Wow.
And always start with the end in mind. Because my end in mind, if I'm seated with you here for a meeting, I need to close you, right? So I need to be the person who sits, listens to all the things that you want to say, take my critical notes, not be on my phone, because that is another thing that keeps distracting people. You're talking and then your phone is buzzing and you keep, I mean, where do you have it anyway? Having to make sure that you're paying that attention and you're looking for the gaps. A lawyer, I will go to a lawyer because I have an issue. I am a business person. I need to come to you. It's not the other way around. So I think for business people, it's actually really, really, really important for us to now be as professional as possible. Don't go somewhere wearing, ragged jeans and then expecting someone to take you seriously. Even if you're in creative arts, you need to, even though it is smart casual, be smart in your casualness. And not mixing language, because I think that is another thing that I found. People in a meeting, and then you're mixing language, and then there are people who don't speak Swahili, but you're not speaking Swahili, you're speaking Sheng, which is not something else. And it's not very clear. So I think people need to be able to understand, how am I going to deal with this client, especially in business? How am I going to deal with this client? What do they like? That means before you go for any meeting,
research.
Google. You do your research properly, so that if there's anything that will catch you by surprise, it's what they say as you're listening, as they're talking. You'll be like, okay, so maybe I didn't see that in their profiles, I didn't see that on their website, but that is a pain point area that I can leverage on. So people need to really, really be listeners more than talkers. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Wow.
Yeah, to listen more and talk less.
All right. And I have someone who texted in. I have all right. Okay. I'm trying to understand your message, Martin Dungu. It's quite a long one, but you say you have all the rights to be attended in good manners in every office. So, and that just gave me an idea, the definition of good manners, and we have tried breaking it down. So, and you pointed something on dressing. So a lot of people actually assume that.
Yes.
And that is why we have offices that have dressing codes.
Yes. Precisely. I mean, when I think anybody who's looking for a job, and this is something that I even tell my friends and my mentees, if you're going to look for a job and during your orientation time, certain things are not mentioned, ask. One, when is our downtime, for instance? Because the offices that people, a boss will not expect you to be on your phone unless it is your downtime. Things like dress code. Do we have official days and an easy day? I think we call it a casual day or Friday or something. When we go to the field, how are we supposed to dress? When you go for meetings, because all those things have to be defined. Because if you leave it to chance, you will actually lose your job, not because of a fault of your own, but because you didn't ask and the person who hired you did not tell you. But at the end of the day, who is losing? You're losing because you didn't ask and you're dressing in a way that you're not sure. So things like dress code, just have an understanding that if this is a place where I have to wear trousers, how do the trousers need to look? Is it casual? Do I come with jeans? You know, that kind of stuff. Tops, how do they look like? But one very important rule in dress code is first be comfortable. If you're in a dress where you constantly keep pushing it down, you shouldn't be wearing it. You know, something where when you bend just a bit, everything is being seen. You don't want to leave people's guessing on.
Sometimes it's even good to have.
No, you see, now for you dress like a pastor. But I'd rather you be overdressed probably, but not
underdressed.
Exactly. Those are things that people need to ask. And again, dressing is not just attire. It's earrings for us. It's makeup for women. It's your hair, how you wear your hair. How does it look? How does it present? Because definitely your boss is if your boss is going to send you to a meeting, they need to be able to know, if I'm not going to be part of that meeting, this is how you operate. One of the things that my former boss told me is I cannot be in a profession where I put yellow and blue polish. Makes a lot of sense because it depends on where you're going. So have professional colors or just neutral colors or no polish at all. But you go into an office and you have luminous green. You know the way we have luminous green on one finger and then some shiny things. You get into an office and that's all people are looking at. So what you're saying, nobody cares because they're just distracted by all the glitter and the very bright colors. Lipstick, you know. So it has to be very defined. If it's not, I prefer you ask before you make a mistake.
And you know, a lot of people actually assume that part of asking. Or is that just a mentality that no one will tell me? Ama ni kulenga to like, let me just assume this and move
it depends on on which generation that is. Because I think yes, there is that point of if I'm not told, I won't care because it was your duty to tell me. There's that generation. But I feel that is a lot of ignorance on the receiver's part. A lot of ignorance.
All right.
Ask. We are told all the time, be like that child who asks why 20 times until it's fulfilled. Until you get to understand. But I think people, yes, you're right, they feel if I'm asking, I'm being too know-it-all. But wouldn't you rather be a know-it-all than not to know at all? Right?
Be a know-it-all.
I think so.
You know? All right, Martin Dungu. So he was actually just sending me some of the screenshots from the MCA. So apparently he's one of the victims who went to a hospital and waited in the hospital bay for about 2 hours without being attended to. And when he asked, it was actually thrown back at him.
Okay. What does the screenshot say?
Okay. Hey, it's a really long one. Emergency it's a Swahili one. It's a really long one. And then now the MCA was actually saying that there was shortage of doctors, nurses, and now he's actually following it up. So sometimes actually speaking it up, what I'm getting from it is that after he texted now the MCA, who followed up on the issue. So most of the time we fail to speak out.
And then we go rant on Twitter. But I realized, and I think I also use the same thing, and especially I don't know if I should or shouldn't name, but some of the service providers, common service providers, you make calls, you put on hold for forever. You're made to actually listen to AI telling you, you can get your account number on this and this and that. But the minute you raise a complaint on Twitter, immediately, like it will not take 5 seconds. They will please DM us your number, we will get back to you. And I'm like, why do I have to be so vocal and so loud for you to be able to sort my issue out? But you see, that is just probably internet or something. I would imagine in a hospital there should be redundancies in every situation. So I hope that that situation would be resolved very quickly.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a government hospital, because that's where very many people go.
That's true.
And also have just means of I know those boxes, they're called
The
what?
suggestion boxes.
They don't work.
They don't work.
That's why we go on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's why we go rant on Twitter.
Yes.
But I hope that these organizations actually really took care of feedback.
All right.
Because that's why you improve yourself. I mean, even us, when we're training all the time, we even ask feedback from children, because you see that is the most honest feedback that you can ever get. And you also want to be able to know where were the gaps and how can I improve myself, because I want more people to come to my organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So I need to be able to know what to do to improve
Okay.
myself. Yeah.
All right. Now, who's to blame when people are behaving like this? Is it the organization? Is it the individual? Ama ni circumstance? Who's to blame?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Magoha trending.
Yes.
I
Yes,
don't
I
know.
have.
And because I'm very passionate about education, I've been able to try and follow up the conversation. I don't know if there's a skill gap in the education sector.
Yeah.
And I hope if there is, because I know there is, in terms of, life skills. I don't want to call them soft skills, because things like critical thinking and problem solving are not soft skills. They're life skills.
Yeah.
Those are the things that if the algebra in my head doesn't come into play, I will know how to be street smart. And you're not taught how to be street smart in school.
Yep.
So I believe if there's a gap, we should start there. In the sense of educating. I think also the society we have needs to be able to plug in terms of helping people to navigate things, not really book-wise, but street-wise. Because there's certain things, obviously,
Yeah.
you will not rely on science, Pythagoras theorem. I don't even know how I apply that thing in life. And if I do, somehow it comes up.
Oh.
But we need to be able, even as a society, see where we can help children and ourselves just see how to be able to close in some gaps. And this comes in where we are not in a bad way, because I know there are people who are making money out of translating Sheng, for instance. There are people who actually are. But when you start seeing words coming up in a language, or because this is Swahili and English mixed together, right? When we start seeing such kind of things, should we glorify them, or should we right? So that's for me is a critical area, because then you find we are raising a generation of people who literally cannot comprehend themselves.
Yep.
If you see how children right now are just on screens, swiping, they don't have this ability of just the tab, because they're not using keyboards like you and I.
Yeah.
They're not using the phones that we started typing. You remember our phones used to
QWERTY.
have, yes, exactly. They're losing that grip. They're not able to actually even tell these words come in a certain way. And I'll even give you an example of my own son. I will tell him to Google something, and he presses Google Assistant. And I'm like, please type this word, plant something, and he's like, Google, tell me this and this. And so it is even getting worse, because now we are relying on machine learning. And when we become so dependent on even technology and becoming so dependent on short forming, right now I can respond to someone using emojis a whole day.
Yeah.
And there's someone on the other side of the phone that understands emojis. How are we even going to start writing compositions? Because even if you go to schools and ask, simple things of how are inshas being done, how are compositions being done. From when we were in school, it's going down.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
worse. And for me, that is a very big problem, because who will be, when researchers are researching about this generation, what will they be writing? Your guess is as good as mine.
Emojis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it was good, and then they do the smiley, and then it is left to my imagination, because probably I don't understand the emojis too well. So I think the gaps we should critically look at the gaps, not criticize them, but to see where we can fill in and help our children, especially because they're the ones who are getting into this space of learning. The job market is changing. I understand that.
Yeah.
But in the time where technology is not working, are they able to become manual? Because for me, that is the fear. And if they cannot transit to a manual kind of workmanship, then they don't have any possibilities of survival. Yes, they cannot survive at all. Yes.
They cannot.
Yeah.
So continue sending in your questions and comments. I've received one from Sarah Wanaivasha. I'll be reading out in a few minutes. The day is back. with me, Sarah Otieno, and I have in studio Evelyn Casina. But before we dive back into our discussion, I want us to look at some of the experiences that you told us you had in the streets and maybe how you dealt with them. Tuangalie to this one for a minute.
There is a time I boarded a matatu of a circle which I don't want to mention. Then one of their staffs mistreated me in the matatu. You obviously know who that person could be. And then when I went to the office, they were not even willing to listen to what I was saying, as if they were there at the incident. So walini mistreat too, like, man, no, hapana. Wewe unajua, they were not even ready to listen to what I was saying.
Dem fulani alikuwa amekuja akaandikwa, akanotice niko na ball. Sasa sijui muelewa, akateka advantage ya kuja kunichapa sasa. Sasa hapo kunichapa nikaona hata hapo ningangane aje, hakuna venye nitakuja kusaidika, nikaona acha tu niache tu hiyo kazi.
Sana makanga wa gari. They are not professional. The way they conduct themselves, they don't know how to talk to people. They are not trained.
Ni mtu ambaye unakuta kwa ofisi na anatakiwa kukuserve. His work or their work is to serve you when you go to the office. But when you reach there, they just pretend they don't see you and they do some other things, and it's as if you are not there. That is unprofessional.
It's now like almost 4 years down the line. I've never used that circle. I'd rather wait and get late to where I was going other than being in one of their matatus belonging to that circle.
Well, clearly, si mimi peke yangu, other people have also experienced people who are not very professional at their place of work. And Evelyn Casina, I want us to kindly elaborate on something. There's one person who pointed out that she actually experienced some, I'll call it bad blood, between her and the colleague. Mm-hmm. So this unprofessionalism can also be felt within colleagues.
Yeah, I mean, competition is everywhere. Everyone wants to be the best at work, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody. Mm-hmm. So at a point where you feel almost disadvantaged or you feel like another person is outshining you, as opposed to being the bigger person and choosing to up your game, you become petty. And that is, I think for me, that's more pettiness. Mm-hmm. But even within your pettiness, then you start becoming unprofessional. Yeah. Just simple things. I will not help you do your report. Mm-hmm. And as opposed to, I will make you work late so that I just make you look bad in front of other people. Mm-hmm. I think, that's just unhealthy competition.
Unhealthy competition.
Yeah, which can be, I mean, it brings out a lot of unprofessionalism at work, and bitterness, I think. Yes.
All right, bitterness. Yeah, you find someone and she just goes around and snitches, for lack of a better word, to the bosses and
to make you look bad.
And that is unhealthy. Competition.
It is.
And someone has texted in and said, I like the way Casina has pointed out that there is a gap, especially in our education system. And I fully support that gap needs to be filled, especially with the children. Mm-hmm. My child is also the Google Assist kind of gap.
We are in the same boat. It's okay. The good thing is, as I said earlier, CBC has started incorporating these things, which is really good. And I think for the parents who've been resisting CBC, they really need to critically look at what the children are learning and what the objectives of the students is by the time they're achieving certain milestones. And for me, it's not what we used to do, teacher in front of class, and it's theory. They're also trying to incorporate, and I'm not praising CBC, they're trying to incorporate the speed of your child. They are looking at objectives according to age and things that are attainable. And also looking far and wide. If your child is not really academic, are there other things that they can prosper? Yeah, they can prosper outside, like athletics, swimming, all those things. To just get to have a child, even if not a holistic child, but there's a child who actually loves going to school because there's a certain thing that they feel I'm good at doing and I'm given that opportunity to do it. And I feel even outside when the kids are playing, and I'm not praising children bullying each other, but in a situation where children are playing, they're able to solve their own problems without that necessity of them feeling like they need to pin someone else down, which is now bullying. And the same way in class, they will be taught that in theory form. If they're allowed to go outside, they actually practice it and get to learn it and experience it. So I feel that, yes, the ministry right now is actually doing something important. It's just for you and I, we have to maybe pay extra or,
Yeah.
you know, Google
Spend more
or,
time.
use podcasts and, you know, engage each other in different professions so that we can see where our gaps are, how we can fill them up. Yes.
All right.
And if you're anybody like me, I outsource my weaknesses, which I know them very well. So I will not pretend I am not what I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so
Yeah.
So there's also in the Vox Pop, I had a guy say that he's never boarded the same matatu because
Yes.
he was mistreated.
Yes.
And these are some of the disadvantages of being unprofessional. So are there any others?
Oh, very many. I mean, how you make me feel will determine whether I come back or not.
Yeah.
And especially for that person, you see, he has not gone back, and I'm very sure he has told at least his family members, "Mstumie hiyo matatu."
that's
You get,
true.
and for me that is a ripple effect of how I felt. I don't want other people who I know to feel the same way just because of one person who probably had a bad morning, or probably is doing it out of not his own will. It was out of lack of knowledge,
Yeah.
or maybe it was intentional. But the fact is that person has lost not one person's business, but ripple effect. The ripple effect of people being negative about a feeling that they had. It's actually very grave because now very many people will be like, just imagine if he went on Twitter right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and everybody just decided, we'll be like, we are absconding that on at Twingy. So imagine that business person at the end of the day is not collecting money. So there's also the bad image. And for us who live in a digital world where internet doesn't forget, when someone posts something bad,
Yeah.
imagine yourself on buyer beware, and if it's actually maybe an issue that is not really true, but the fact that it has already tainted your image, you will work maybe 2 or 3 times more to try and recover.
And it's
And
not
that
easy
it's
to
not
recover.
easy. It's not easy, and that's for people who really actually know, or someone who is willing to listen to your side of the story. And we know the way our society right now is: we listen to the good story, the bad one that will trend, we make noise until someone else does something, and then we forget.
Then forget about the.
But at the end of the day, just imagine if I'm a prospective client and I come and Google your name, and those are the kind of reviews I'm getting online, I will start being very cautious about dealing with you. Obviously, other disadvantages are the fact that you'll find people in your office are leaving a lot because of probably the toxic culture. If people don't work on like internal cultures, just making sure that everybody in the office with their own different personalities, with their own different likes and dislikes, if there's no harmonious living, you find even the very good workers that you have are leaving just because of certain misunderstandings, just because there is a lot of animosity, there's a lot of, the corridor. I had a new name the other day, and I have to brag that I know.
Wow.
That thing that people at the dispenser, it's called dispenser talks or something, the kitchen talks, where people go drink water and then they're just bad-mouthing other people. I know. They spend a whole good 20-30 minutes there bad-mouthing people. So those are the kind of cultures, if they're not nipped at the bud, they can be very bad for an organization wholesomely, because you might actually go into a meeting and, like, for instance, if you're working together and we go into a meeting and I'm busy bad-mouthing my colleague to my client. That shows a lot of that it's a big gap, and it actually can make a whole organization lose business, because the client is wondering, shouldn't you also just have your friends back or your colleagues back at the face of your client? That was actually really, really big on unprofessionalism. I would think of another thing, and I mean, in the case of a hospital being unprofessional, people could actually lose their lives because of simple neglect. And that one is not funny. Me losing my job might look funny, but when someone is in a hospital not being treated with the care or the assistance that they really do need, they could actually lose their lives. I was in a forum last week where there's this parent who was narrating a story of how their daughter committed suicide. But the daughter committed suicide and they took this child to a hospital. And because, according to the father, which of course you have to realize he's grieving, according to the father, he felt like the nurses did not take their situation seriously because the child was not being dramatic. And so, because she had ingested some poison, the fact that she was not being dramatic, wailing and throwing themselves, they were told to queue, and the child died at the queue. So that is just one of the really fatal consequences of unprofessionalism. And I feel like we just need to have institutions that have regular trainings on people. but also having people being checked on their mental status. Because I
Yeah.
think also the same way you said, why are people so bitter? It's because of all these things that are happening behind the screen. And as I said, we are human beings. If my boss is not caring that I'm having a mental issue, something that is bothering me, I will transmit it knowingly or unknowingly to the person that I'm dealing
Next
with.
person.
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
All right.
yeah.
And someone has just texted in and pointed out another form of unprofessionalism. We have these people who do not respond to emails or do their portion of work unless some bosses they need to impress are kept in copy. It is worse if they are senior than you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I know those are witch hunts. Those are being outright, I think those are witch hunts, and I get it. But I also think in situations where, again, I'll go back to orientation. When you're being oriented in communication, what is the fastest way that as an organization you've decided you're going to be getting back to your clients?
Yep.
For instance, in my office, I don't disallow people using WhatsApp. However, WhatsApp message or phone message or just phone call, make sure that whatever you've discussed is followed up on an email. After 5 minutes, right? So that we have proof of that conversation, and then we are following it now in a professional manner. If people are having this gap of where we are using WhatsApp, maybe it is in the group WhatsApp or personal WhatsApp, but then yes, when it comes to now relating that into an email, then you feel like you can't do it either immediately or you have to CC a boss, so that impressions.
Yeah.
I think then that goes back to what channels of communication do you have for emergencies, for not emergencies. If you're using informal kind of communication, how are you going to translate that to formal communication, and how long should that take?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I like the way you pointed out, like in your company it's 5 minutes.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because people have
Timelines,
phones. Yeah.
All right. Hello, ladies. I'm Daniel from Pangani Heights. For years, I have been unable to say no to the heavy demands on my time for a charitable organization, which I have gladly supported. Now, the chairperson is calling on me again to attempt to pressure me into heading up a fund drive. Even though this is one of my least favorite tasks, when I refuse, she only redoubles her efforts to persuade me. How do I mentally construct an alternative response that confronts gently and acceptably? Because, again, this is unprofessionalism, especially now from the chair lady who keeps pushing, and I can see the face you're making.
I will say yes and no to that. One, because people only go as far as you let them. Yeah? I will only push you as far as you let me. And if you're the kind of people who don't know how to say no, or how to put either very strict boundaries, or even, I think boundaries should be strict. There's no any other way. But if you're a person who can't put boundaries, I will misuse that avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a loophole for me.
Yes.
I want an objective, because for instance, if I'm the chairperson, I have an objective to meet. And I know if I put pressure on this person, come what may, she will deliver. So for me, I really don't care how we get there, as long as we get there. For me, I also don't care how you're going to, what your status will be as we are getting to our objective. Again, as long as we meet our objective. So for me, what is important with her is to avoid...
Daniel.
It's Daniel, it's a he, I'm sorry. What he should do actually is avoid to become a pressure cooker. And I will explain. A pressure cooker is good and it's boiling until everything gets to maximum and poops out.
Yep.
And when it becomes to that point where temperatures are high and he feels I'm still doing something under high pressure and I don't like it, chances are, as he's verbalizing that, it will not be anyway kind. It will not be anyway kind. It will not be professional, because he will be saying it out of frustration. So what he should do right now, because he has acknowledged that, yes, here there's a problem and it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Construct an email, read it to yourself, have a monologue with yourself, and just send it before things get thick. And just say, you know what, either extend my timelines or reduce my
responsibilities.
Exactly, yeah. Because I feel at this moment that I'm not able to deliver either your timelines, or I'm not able to deliver all these objectives at once. So either you bring in someone else or you reduce my workload. Because if he doesn't do that now that he agrees and he's already seeing another project, it will become a pressure cooker situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And we also have Massimo Ryuki. Aki, I remember some time back when I needed a card, and it's a retirement card. We can all tell Nigani. I asked the madam to register me. I asked the madam to register me. Unfortunately, I had registered in other organization but didn't get this card, and even forgot I had registered. She was harassed, and ananiambia, Aki Sarah, I was harassed. The man who was taking my fingerprint even made fun ati my fingers were too cold. Ni kama nimetembea miguu from town via Uhuru Park. It was so much, and I just broke down. Aki sijawai sahau those people in that office. So
that's a government office, obviously. I'm so sorry for that experience.
Wow. There's also another person. This is Rose. Last week I was kept waiting for 1.5 hours at a hospital. I had gone for x-ray. Imagine I was the only patient. The guy was just on the phone.
Oh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had already paid. Imagine 4,000. I felt so bad. How can I let the hospital management know this without putting the guy in trouble?
The guy is already in trouble. If she was to die, was in that trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, these phones of ours, in homes, in workplaces. I mean, they're dead. Wow.
Yeah.
She should just go to the supervisor, and the night shift supervisor for that matter, because probably he will be able to follow up and see. Because she might be not the only person who's been ignored as someone is on social media or doing some things on phone. I mean, I don't mind people being online as long as it's your downtime. And I keep insisting this because there's so much time you lose. There's so much brain power you miss because of engaging in, I call them mindless, because sometimes whatever it is that is trending on Twitter right now, so it's trending in the morning.
Yeah.
So me seeing it right now doesn't make me feel like I lost anything in the morning, right? If you actually have timelines where you are engaging your phone in specific things, I think that is something organizations need to work on and even put policies to that matter. Because imagine, this is not an office like mine where I deal with children. This is a hospital. This is something that is a matter of life and death. So I cannot be waiting. And you're not telling me. You see, the problem is also, if there's a breakdown of something, communicate that and tell me, I am here. We are waiting for ABCD. So that I'm not feeling like, hey, I'm being ignored. Meanwhile, this guy is on his phone. Because I'm actually now working up my emotions. Because I'm feeling like I'm being ignored. I'm feeling like I paid my money. I'm not getting the value. So I think people need to just be able to, again, just communicate what is going on. But in hospitals, I think there's a lot of training that needs to happen in hospitals. People need to start reinventing their HR policies to start curbing things like phones, phone usage during work. I find that really
unprofessional.
It's unimpressionable actually, because it's just rude. Just imagine I'm talking to you and you're on your phone. It's really rude. I mean, I have got no regard of your time whatsoever. And I am bringing money. The 4,000 she paid is your salary. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Apart from communication, maybe, and the input of the management now in ensuring that there is utmost professionalism, what are other tips? In just a few minutes, because we're left with a few minutes, what are some other tips that you can give, maybe to individuals and to companies, to make sure that at least we are somewhere?
Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing that people right now, I feel like is a big gap for our generation especially, is don't waste time on CVs, spend more time on your digital footprint, because that is where people are losing a lot of opportunities because of how they're relating online and, you know, the kind of language, the kind of things they're posting. Very many people don't want to be associated because of things that people are commenting online. So be very aware about your social footprint. Again, if you feel like there are certain sites, and I'll give an example of Twitter. Twitter is a social site. For professionalism, don't take Twitter to LinkedIn. You know, don't take that madness of Facebook and all these other social Instagrams to a platform like LinkedIn, because I want to make sure that the person I am relating with understands that this is a professional site. I need to be able to know your credentials, so that at least if you come to me and I saw this here, you're able to demonstrate it because you posted it. But also how you're relating with people and how you're conducting yourself on a certain platform, it really matters right now, because we are in a global society where, I mean, I can get a job literally anywhere and then do it from Nairobi and get paid because we have the means. So people need to be able to now look far and wide and stop feeling like, you know, you're boxed into traditional ways of, you know, professionalism. Some sectors have their profession, there are certain ethics already standard, but in emerging professions like ours,
Yeah.
we have to define them, and defining them means that at the end of the day, I have to make sure that the person on the other end of the room or the phone call or the email doesn't feel offended by my language, doesn't feel offended by my mood, because you can still read a mood on text, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You can. You just need to be able to know that you're communicating properly, appropriately, and you're not being too much or too economical.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
And
Thank
of course,
you so much.
physically,
Yes.
those colors.
The nail polish.
Yes,
the
nail
lipstick.
polish,
Yeah.
lipstick, makeup. I think we just need to be not toned down, but just be appropriate. I
Yeah,
mean, just be
appropriate
appropriate.
is the
Because
right
I mean, I've
word.
seen people go to meetings with those nails that reach here,
Wow.
that they can't even write.
How is the sign check?
I think there's one whose eyelashes were falling, literally falling.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So I felt I wanted to actually call for a break so that I can tell her to go to the bathroom and well, but it was too late because it was just embarrassing.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's a learning opportunity for everyone, but just understand what your profession needs from you so that you can act the part.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much, my dear.
Karibu.
I have personally learned a lot. I feel like I'm going to be better, you know?
Don't come to my office to learn more, I'll charge you. But please
Uh-oh.
come. I need you to come. And also just teaching children how they need to behave.
Yeah.
I think, because that's my profession. Yeah. Just bring your children now for us to teach them when they're early so that they don't forget when they grow up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. All
Yes.
right. Thank you so much, my dear,
Karibu.
for coming today.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for tuning in to This Is the Day. My name is Sarah Otieno, and I hope you learned a lot today like I did. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, happy Monday to you.